Hey everybody, we are here with Chloe Grace Moretz. We're going to talk about The Fifth Wave, your new movie. Opens up stateside next Friday, January 22nd. Welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Of course.
First of all, I want to just kind of talk about in general, The Fifth Wave is, obviously based on a book, a popular book, and along with a lot of other, young adult and kind of young science fiction stuff, it deals with some pretty heavy things. What do you think is sort of the key to this particular story's popularity?
I think the fact that it kind of bridges a lot of different elements from a lot of different type and genres of movies. I mean, I think one of the cool things that I really enjoyed about it is it does have a really large sci-fi element to it, which I don't think we see in this more young adult-ish area. We don't really see those true sci-fi elements to it that are really depicted, and kind of the invasion of the body snatchers, fun little scare of who's walking among you, and also the fact that it's a real family story in the sense that it's not about a girl who's just falling in love and trying to fight her way out of that. It's a story about a girl who, against all odds, is fighting for the life of her brother. And no matter how many times she comes up against these huge obstacles, she hurdles them, and she fights no matter what to live and to survive for him.
Well, as somebody who was the baby brother in his family, that appealed to me. I would like to think my
like,
sisters
"There we
would have done
go."
that, or they would have just kicked me to the curb. I don't know. But Cassie, let's talk a little bit about where she is before the aliens decide, the others decide to show up. What kind of kid is she?
She's a very ordinary girl. She's just kind of typical. Nothing special about her. She's not great at sports. She's not incredibly smart. But then when these extraordinary circumstances are put in front of her, she more than leaps up to the fight and pushes back.
Now, there's also a bit of at least a setup. I don't want to say too much of a hint, but a setup of sort of a love triangle there. Now, there are two different young men that kind of that she knows in this film. Can you tell us a little bit about, respectively, her kind of bonds or relationships with these guys?
Yeah, well, she gets injured, and a boy named Evan Walker helps nurse her back to health. And she's very wary of anyone to trust because, now knowing that the aliens are walking among us and they look like us, we don't know who we can trust. And that's kind of how they pull little slivers of our humanity away from us. And she eventually, kind of allows him to help her in the fight to find her brother again. So he kind of just becomes this person who's there for her in a world in which she, feels completely alone. So they kind of find solace in each other. And then Ben is her high school dream boat of a boy, and she just randomly bumps into him in the base. So
now the fact that the movie does deal with an exploration of what do you kind of give up of your humanity in order just to stay alive. Again, like young adult stuff and science fiction deals with some pretty heavy stuff. Why do you think it is that at least in terms of this story, young audiences don't seem to shy away from that sort of dark material? It's something that's basically demanding that you grow up a lot sooner. What do you think it is about that sort of appeal to them?
I mean, I think it's because we live in a world now where darkness is very prevalent, and I think that there's a lot of adversity that we all kind of have to come up against at a very young age. And I think that kids, I mean, they're interested in the Grimm's fairy tales. I mean, they're interested in Hans Christian Andersen's version of the true fairy tales. I mean, it's from a very young age you're interested in darkness, and you know that there's something there. And a long time ago, not even that long ago, but we used to make that very taboo. Whereas now we're embracing it, and we're allowing kids to kind of understand the darker sides of life and to explore them because it's healthy to. And I think that's why these movies are doing so well. These movies that are geared for younger audiences, but are dealing with adult circumstances in a more I'd say in a little bit older light. You'd say adult circumstances, but just real life circumstances in a lot of ways. Well,
you certainly as an actress don't shy away from that stuff. I mean, looking back at your filmography from Kick-Ass to Let Me In, everything of Carrie, of dealing with sort of, you're not afraid to kind of go there. Is that, do you look for that in your material when you're?
I think I find it most interesting to me. I find that the most interesting is just going to these places which are so very different than my everyday life as Chloe. I think that's why I kind of tend to lend my acting hand to that genre a little bit more. And that happens also to fall into the more, the darker, twisted thriller horror aspect when I was younger, especially because it just felt more interesting. It was more exciting to play these characters that, as a 13-year-old, I was playing a 130-year-old vampire. So, it was more exciting.
Let's talk about working with that director, Jay Blakeson. He did Alice Creed, which I don't know if a lot of folks have seen. That's
wild movie.
This is a really solid director to get from it. Can you talk a little bit about working with him?
That's what really excited me about this project too. Once we really got into the making of it, after we got the script together and we were looking at directors to choose, I was really excited to hear that Sony wanted Jay for the movie, because it's an odd choice in terms of large, sci-fi, big budget movies. So to hire someone like Jay, who is a more artistic indie director who works in a very low budget range, it was exciting to see someone new come in and kind of mess with the system a little bit and make a movie that, yes, is broad spectrum and yes, is there for young kids too, but adults can go in and be left on the edge of their seat and fighting for these characters. And he really helped keep what I loved about the book. He helped keep that into the movie, which is that it's not just a YA. It's not just for teens. It's a broad spectrum movie.
Now, you've obviously done training with weaponry and stuff before, although we do see you in the movie quite a bit, wielding some firearms. Was there anything new that you had to learn, or did you just show up like, I got this?
I kind of did show up like, I got this, and then they kept on to remind me, you're playing a character who doesn't have this. So I actually, it was like reverse training, because I kept having to be reminded by the director that you're not an action hero in this movie. You become a learned action hero at the end. But please act like you don't know how to hold a gun, which was difficult for me because I'm so used to being like so trained. It's completely opposite.
She's a lethal weapon, is what we're saying. Well, The Fifth Wave is going to hit theaters on January 22nd here stateside in the UK. I think it's already out in Australia. So for all things movies, keep it here on IGN. And again, thank you, Chloe Grace Moretz, for chatting with us today.
Anytime.
Thanks for watching.